preach from Psalm 40. And just in the last few weeks, as Pastor Casey and Pastor Hope have been preaching, and actually since the end of last year, we've been praying and proclaiming that word breakthrough. And now, as we celebrated 2 New Years now, I'd like for us to consider some points as we believe for breakthrough in our lives, personally and corporately as a house. So why don't we read Psalm 40? We'll just go through the first 5 verses, even though I'll probably touch upon more. Just kidding. I forgot to put it on the slide. I'm sorry. I'll read it to everybody. If you want to turn to Psalm 40 on your device or in the Bible, we'll read it. I'll read it. It says, I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined to me and heard my cry. It's on your bulletin. He also brought me up out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and established my steps. He's put a new song in my mouth, praise to our God. Many will see it and fear and will trust in the Lord. Blessed is that man who makes the Lord his trust, and does not respect the proud, nor such as turn aside to lies. Many, O Lord my God, are your wonderful works which you have done, and your thoughts toward us cannot be recounted to you in order. If I would declare and speak of them, they are more than can be numbered. All right, let's pray. God, thank you for who you are, God. I thank you that as we just come together today, Lord, we just fix our eyes on you and have our hearts attuned to you, Lord God. I ask that you would speak through me, God, and let me just yield to you, God, and I pray that we would just have open ears, open hearts, open eyes to see what you're doing in our midst, in us and through us. God, I just ask that you would have your way in this time. In Jesus' name, amen. So, when you think of breakthrough, what do you usually think about? Maybe some images come to mind, maybe some other words. For me, I had that picture in mind as I was praying, just preparing this message, of just a fist going through glass, which would probably hurt. I don't recommend anyone ever trying that on purpose. My brother actually did that by accident once, through our kitchen window. He was trying to scare a deer away, and he punched through the glass. And then we just ended up putting contact paper over it or something. But he wasn't bleeding, but I just wouldn't recommend you doing that. But anyway, this is the image that I have about breakthrough and about contending for breakthrough, so you can keep that in mind. I think when it comes to breakthrough in the Bible, there's times where, like with Jehoshaphat in 2 Chronicles, where he's facing the enemy army, and God just tells him to stand and see what he's going to do. They fast, but he just says, don't fight this battle. I'm going to fight this for you. Just stand and see what I'm going to do. And then there are times which I feel like we're in now as a church where it's beyond that, when God is really calling us into the very fray of the battle and to actually fight and contend for this breakthrough. It's not a either-or situation, it's a both-and situation, and it's not just we'll just see what happens, maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't. So whether it's a specific breakthrough that you're believing for, or the manifestation of your calling in life, I really believe that it's time now to really contend for your breakthrough, so that's what we're going to talk about today. You might ask, okay, God has given us all these promises, why can't I just, receive, I don't have to do anything, right? Why should I fight for it? Are those promises yours? Yes. Do you have to fight for them? Yes. And I'm going to use Psalm 40 to just kind of walk us through what David did. And I think when you think of promises, at least I think about the Israelites going into the promised land, right? I'm not going to touch on that today, but they knew what God had given to them, but they had to walk into it. They had to enter in, and then they had to possess it, right? So similar idea to that. So let's look at Psalm 40, David's song and psalm about the pits. Psalm 40 is a psalm about the pits, and it seems like in the first part that David has already been in a pit before, because later on in the psalm, he's asking God again to deliver him from something. So apparently he's in another pit. The first pit, we're not so sure what was going on, but in the second pit, we know that he is facing the consequences of his sin, and he's also running from enemies, and he's being opposed by his enemies. So he definitely has some experience in pits, and I think this song offers some insight on what to do when you're in a pit. The first thing that David says, he said that I waited patiently for the Lord. Now, this isn't the first time that I personally have talked about waiting patiently. I think the last 2 or 3 times I've preached, I talked about waiting patiently, so I don't know if that's the Lord just telling us to wait patiently. So I don't want to say too much about it, but I can't stress enough about the importance, but also the necessity of what that means to wait patiently. Because I think I know that God knows that that's not our favorite thing to do, to wait, and to wait patiently for that matter. And so over and over again, in the Psalms especially, he's showing us through David like his testimony of what happened as he did wait patiently. Just last Sunday when we were at dinner, too bad Kat's downstairs, we went to a Vietnamese restaurant, and I ordered this yummy vermicelli thing, but it didn't have fish sauce, and I was like, well, I can't eat this without fish sauce. So I was trying to get the attention of the waitress or waiter, and they didn't see me, so I was like, okay, I'll just wait patiently. And I kind of said it under my breath, so I thought, the cat heard me. And then not even a minute later, I'm like, ugh, no one can see me. She's not looking at me. I'm not gonna get my fish sauce. And then Kat's like, baby, I thought you were gonna wait patiently. And I was like, I should have just kept that to myself. But that's just our nature, I feel like. Am I the only one that does that? Especially with food. This is a great example. Because with food, you order it at a restaurant and it's supposed to come out. It's going to come. And so you wait for it and you long for it to be in front of you so you can eat it, right? And in the Psalms, David, in Psalm 42, he says that, what does he say? As a deer pants for the water brook, so my soul pants for thee, O God. My soul thirsts for God, for the living God. And so the whole psalm in that one, it's just his tears became his food, he uses all these images, but that's how much he waited, how much he hungered for God to come through. And so I think David points us in the direction of, when we're waiting, we're not just waiting patiently, but we're also waiting very intently. We're not just we'll see what happens, let's just, pass the time. There's purpose in it. It's not listless. It's very active because he's crying out, he's waiting on God alone. And so, when David's writing these psalms, especially the ones that we've been reading, he writes them, and the whole, I forget what they're called, the sons of Korah, they wrote these psalms as songs or poems, right? That would stir up the people, that would awaken the people and encourage them, but also it would be a song to testify of how confident they were in God and to kind of instruct them as well and give them wisdom. So it wasn't just for David alone, it was for a people. And so those who wait like David, like in Psalm 42 and in this psalm, I feel like David is straining towards the moment when God is going to come through, when God is going to deliver. And so that's what the longings for, that's what the waiting intently is about. He doesn't know when he's going to come, right? But he continues to hope in him. And he's like, I don't know when he's going to come, but he's going to come because he's God. So to position yourself to contend, we have to kind of get out of our mentalities, right? And I say you must come out of your cave, and that again has to do with David when he was on the run, right? A lot of times he and the Israelites, they would go into caves to seek refuge, to find a place to just be when their enemies were pursuing them. But when you think about a cave, what comes to mind? Is it light? Is it warm? It's not. It's dark, it's cold, there's no light in it. And so a place like a cave, maybe they thought it was a place of safety, but perhaps it was actually keeping them from where they needed to be, right? And so I think for us, that cave, it could be fear, it could be self-pity, it could be excuses, unforgiveness, unbelief, all those things that have maybe become comfortable. We don't even know we're in a cave, but those are the things that I think about when God is wanting us to kind of come out of that, whatever that may be. In order to even begin to contend for the breakthrough, we need to realize that, hey, maybe we're in a cave that we become comfortable with, and we need to come out of that. So, I'll talk about that a little bit more, but as we think about waiting patiently, I think when you think of David's posture, right, of humility, he's already been anointed, or appointed the king, but he humbly just goes before the Lord and recalls, that God delivered him out of that first pit when he waited patiently, and so he's going to do it again. So when you think about a pit, let's think about a pit, what comes to mind? Fun times, rainbows and butterflies. No, right? The pit he talks about, in some translations it says horrible pit, it says a pit of destruction, and then it also says that God brought him out of the miry clay. So there's a lot of songs sung about it. We can, talk about what that looks like all day long, but just visualize a pit for a minute. I think back in those days, the meaning is like, think of a deep, dark well, right? A deep, dark well, and at the very bottom, it's like muddy and sludgy, so that you can't get a proper footing on it. So you're in a deep, dark well, you can't get proper footing, it's all muddy and gross, and then out of nowhere, there's like roaring, tumultuous waves that come crashing at you from out of nowhere. So how would you feel? Not good.
Drowning.
Scared, hopeless, anxious.
Maybe drowning.
Maybe drowning. Yeah, exactly. So that's the idea. And has anyone ever been not stuck in a well like that, but stuck in the mud? Like either in a car or maybe if you've gone hiking and it's rainy. I've had both of those experiences recently. But the one I want to share with you is I was on vacation in Puerto Rico, and we were in a ditch actually, and it was muddy, of course. And the more that we accelerated, the harder it is, right, to get out. And the deeper you actually go, the worse it becomes. That's not the idea. That's not what you should do when you're stuck in a pit. The more you try, the more that you try to get out of it on your own, the deeper you go and the worse it becomes. In a well, same idea. You're not going to get anywhere. There's nothing to hold on to. There's no footing to grab a hold of, right? You guys get the idea. So being stuck in a pit like that can often, if not all the time, seem really hopeless and despairing. But that's why David says intently or patiently. And I think that really guards us from unbelief when we feel like help, when we feel like God is far away or a long time coming. It really guards us because we're fixed on something. It's not just grabbing hold of whatever comes our way. It's fixed on God being our help alone. So waiting intently really guards us from unbelief. What is the next thing that David does? He cries out to God. This, I know, may seem very duh, like no duh, as Christians, but I'm convinced that God really loves it when we express our need for Him and realize that we really can't do anything without Him. With Ava here, she doesn't cry much really, but sometimes when I pick her up or when any of us pick her up, she's usually pretty good for a while, but maybe sometimes she'll have a cry. And me, I can't do anything about it. I pass it on to somebody else who's not Kevin or Jalen. They can't do anything about it. We can smile, we can do anything. But there is a cry, I believe, parents, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a cry that only you, as mom or dad can satisfy, that can soothe, that can calm, that can do for that child that nobody else can. Am I right? Am I wrong? Yeah. Right? It's always like, even the child himself or herself isn't doesn't want you to hold them. They just want mom, they just want dad. So, I think about that, and I think about, what happens when we get older? What happens to us? We want to explore, we want to find our own identity beyond, our parents, and we kind of get it in our head that being independent is strong and being self-sufficient is what we need to be, right? And so we just need to prove to our parents or prove to the world that we are, fill in the blank, whatever it is, independent, self-sufficient, mature, whatever. That's the story of my life. I'm not going to get into it this time around, but I will share another situation where it wasn't ideal, but I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I went to the North Shore of Hawaii. Has anybody ever been there? Yes. Or any surfing area. You guys can get that picture in your head. So it's known for surfing and really crazy waves, and I decided that everybody else one day was getting out of the water, and I decided to stay in the water and didn't question why everybody else was getting out of the water. And I was like, oh, I'll be able to handle it. The waves are okay. I want to stay in the ocean. And then out of nowhere, these waves come. I didn't know to swim through the waves at the time, so I just got beat down by the wave. And there's this thing called an undertow that just sucks you under. Duh. It really sucks you under, and you can't do anything about it. So it was actually a very scary thing. That was probably one of the scariest times for me, because I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, I'm fine. I can just swim. I'll be fine. And then, in less than a minute, I was just going under the waves. I had no control over it, and I didn't know really if I was gonna be able to come to the surface. I had no idea what was going on. And thankfully, it just went out, and I was able to just come up to the water. I don't really remember what happened, but I was exhausted after it. I thought I just ran a marathon, or just it was draining, And I came out, there was sand all up and everywhere. I won't give you the details, but I just came out of it super embarrassed, super just oh, I totally should have just came out of the water, or yelled for help. But I go into detail about that because for me, now looking back on it, I realized I should have just listened for one, and then I didn't recognize my need, I didn't recognize that I couldn't do it just by myself. And I think that's kind of the picture of this well, where there's all this water coming through and you don't have any footing, and you're just what am I going to do? So you guys get the picture of that, right? We need to recognize our need, and that's the point that I want to get across, because if you're in this room and if you don't know Jesus yet, that's the darkness that you're still in. That's the pit that all of us, we're in at one point before knowing the Lord. But for us as believers, maybe we live day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, stuck. And that those patterns or those mindsets continue to keep us in those pits. But I feel the moment that we just say, I need your help, God, I know it takes a lot to get there sometimes, a lot of the time, gosh, everything changes, because the worst kind of pit is the kind that you don't know you're in. And so if you don't know what your need is, then you're not going to know that there's actually help available, that you actually do need help. So when we cry out to God, it comes first with recognizing our need, and to make sure that you're crying out to God, not to man. I know that may make sense now, but sometimes when we're in that situation, we'll pull at anything or everyone but God, and we think that we're actually crying out to God. And so it's super important that we remember that no one can take the place of God. He's the only one that can really rescue us from those times, from that situation, whether it's external or internal. Because it's really easy, like even in the Psalm, David says, how blessed is the man who has made the Lord his trust and has not turned to the proud, nor to those who lapse into falsehood. So when you're in a desperate situation, you may want to just grab, and fight and go for it and just try to escape and get yourself out of that situation. So how many have been there? You don't have to raise your hands, but even, I'm not saying community is bad by any means. I'm so about community. I'm not diminishing the power of that. But those times, you have to grab onto the Lord. There's nobody else that can pull you out of that except for God. And David says there's people that can boast in their own abilities. They can boast in their own effort to try to get out of the crisis on their own. There's even those maybe in a situation when you're stuck in a bind where you're like, a little white lie isn't going to make a difference. I'll be okay. But that's trusting in your lie. It's not trusting in God. And so he's talking about those who are proud, or those who trust in a lie, not in the Lord. So we cry out to God, and he says, he inclined his ear, he inclined to me. We all know what recline is, right? How many like to recline? Incline is a forward motion, right? And he inclines to us. And so, how close do you think God inclines to you? I always think of, in Genesis where God breathes life into Adam, and it's just a face-to-face kind of life-giving breath, of that intimacy. And I feel like that's the kind of inclination that God gives us when we cry out to him. He's so close. He's so close to us. We just need to see him when he's there. I love you guys. As I was putting this together, I actually had a really hard time, but I think, I feel like that God has delivered us as a church from many pits and from many times in the last 8 years. And we've been walking in his grace, in his power, and he's put those new songs in our mouths. And I believe that, like I said earlier, that it really is going to take us together to go from where we are now and take those next steps into breakthrough for each and every one of you, but also as a body, as this house. And I want to share a little bit more about that later. But what happens in this psalm is that deliverance comes. Deliverance came for David, and that's what he's testifying about. Even as he's in another pit, he's saying, oh, look what you did, God, the first time around. Now that I'm in this other situation, do it again, do it again, do it again. Deliverance comes, and what is it that he does? We've been talking about it a lot, I feel like, or I've mentioned it before. He starts singing a new song. He starts professing everything that God has done, because he wants to make sure that everybody around him won't attribute it to good luck or some other thing, or even David himself, but he needs to give God all the glory so that, it's, like everybody knows it's not him, it's really God. So singing a new song, I think, is really key for us right now. And I just want to ask you guys, what are you declaring with your mouths today? What are you declaring each and every day over yourself, over the people around you, over this church and the city? This new song that he talks about, starts even before, deliverance comes. It's in the now. And whenever, Lita or the team are just sing out your own song, like, I didn't know what that meant before for a really long time. I was like, you just sing it for me and I'll just read the words, but there's something very powerful and prophetic in singing your own song because, each of you guys, when you make a sound, whatever it may be, it goes up, right? And prayers or praises, they go up to God and He hears them. And so each one of you have a different sound, you have a different song, you have a different thing to offer God. And so singing a new song for yourself and even together, I think, can be very powerful. I think you guys get the point on to keep talking about it. When you praise from the pit, everything changes. I was in this season where I didn't know anything else to do but to worship God every day and read His Word. And it was actually a really good season in hindsight, but I really had to discipline my mind, my emotions, and my will to control the things that I would take in and the things that I would think or say about myself. But I remember even replaying prophetic words or prayers or just going to Pastor Casey and Hope and people around me to just be like, let's just believe in this together, I'll receive prayers, but at the end of the day, it was really that time with God that I don't think can ever be replaced by anything, where it's just you and Him, and I wasn't even praying, in that time, I was just like, help me. That was the only prayer I could really say, and to go to His Word and speak those confessions over and over and over and over and over and over again until I actually believe them to be true again in my life. But I say those things because, worship is just so powerful. I don't know how much I can say it without you guys, wanting to shut me up about it. But it's so powerful. So who knows what can happen when you praise from the pit and you realize everything changes. David offers this encouragement, I think, in the song after he does all that. What's the point of all this? Am I going to believe that deliverance actually comes? But there's also one other benefit, I think, that's beyond ourselves, and that's that others will see and fear and trust in the Lord and be saved. So I don't know how many people are going to see and fear and trust in the Lord when we do what David did, when we're in a pit and we wait patiently upon Him, we cry out to God, and we sing this song and give God glory for what He has done and what He is going to do when we're in that situation. But it's tremendous, I think, to see that whenever God delivers us from a pit, it's never just to benefit ourselves. It's never the end game. Other people are going to benefit through us in this deliverance, in breakthrough. So I want to encourage you guys, even when you're thinking about singing a new song, whatever that may look like, don't ever view it as, oh, that's just the end of it all. Because I believe that there's this stirring or God rallying us to sing others into the kingdom, to sing others into their breakthrough too. And, how does that happen? How does that happen? They see, they fear, they put their trust in God. What do they see? What did those people see when David came out of that pit? They saw a king who humbled himself, who wasn't hopeless in a situation that could have been hopeless, who leaned in on God, who didn't waver in that, and then he put his trust in Him. And so against all what human nature would predict, he went the other way, right? And people saw that there was a vulnerability, there was authenticity, there was a realness to David. And I believe when people see that, however unbelieving they may be, there's a conviction there, and then unbelief begins to melt. And they see that there's a person who's giving God glory for what He's done, and maybe they think, oh, if God is real and can be depended on alone, then maybe the things that I'm depending on, are not what I should be depending on. And so I believe that by God's grace, those people around us, our family members, our coworkers, the stranger on the street, they're going to see and make a final move to trust in God as we do, as David did. So yeah, when talking about something real and genuine, I think that's what the generation we live in really crave. We crave authenticity, we crave realness. Like, how many of you guys use Instagram or Facebook? They do hashtag no filter, right? Because they want to prove that it didn't need a filter, that sunset is all real, that nothing was photoshopped, that this is 100% real, 100% authentic. But how much more awesome would it be when people can see an authentic, God-loving Christian, who just gives way for God to do what he needs to do in our lives. And, if we're in a situation, a pit that needs God rescuing, that we just give it all and let God do what he does best. I believe that people will see that, and it's all pointing to a God, the God of miracles that we were just singing about, the God of breakthrough. So, I want to talk a little bit about some points that have to do with where we're at, but also our upcoming prayer and fasting. Get excited. No one's not excited about that. Oh, I have a lot of notes. I'm not going to get through it. But I'm not going to ask that. I was going to say, who enjoys prayer and fasting? But you guys don't have to raise your hands. I don't want you guys to lie either. Okay, where do I want to go with this? Okay. Contending for our breakthrough. How do I say this? I think that God always has given us so much grace. He always gives us so much grace. So much more than we are ever able to fathom. But I believe in this time, really, that in order to contend for our breakthrough, that we can't be lazy about it. We can't be too busy for God. And it's just I want to ask you guys, how badly do you want breakthrough for yourself? How badly do you want that? And how badly do you want it for this church or for this entire nation to be transformed? Right? It doesn't just come okay, God, go do it. God is always looking for those people who are willing to count the cost or to just say yes to him and just let go and just let him do what he needs to do through your life. And so I do want to mention prayer and fasting because it's actually all through the Bible, whether we know it or not. And Jesus says, when you fast, not if we fast or if you decide to ever fast when you feel like it's convenient. He said, when you fast. And that is something to be said already. But in that verse, he says that there are rewards. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face so that you do not appear to men to be fasting, but to your Father who is in a secret place, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. I am not saying I'm a pro or expert at prayer and fasting by any means, but the two things that I just mentioned about Jesus saying when you fast and that there are rewards, I think is something for us to really hear out today. There are rewards to fasting, and I'm not trying to just make it all about the rewards, but on the next slide, there's 7 different ones, and I took this from Pastor Steve's little write-up years ago. I'm not going to go through all of it, but you guys can look at it another time. But the key one that I believe for us is number 2, fasting releases prophetic strategies for victory, and also 3, fasting activates and mobilizes people and provision for God's work. It's all of it, but when you think about fasting, is it like a, ugh, like it's time, or okay, I guess. I don't know how you may feel about it, but for fasting releasing prophetic strategies for victory, earlier I had mentioned King Jehoshaphat in the beginning, right? In that stand and see kind of moment. He had been fasting. Jehoshaphat has been fasting. I gotta think out of that. But he was fasting, and so when it came time for him to face the army, God was just like, no swords, no weapons, just, bring your musical instruments and we're going to worship. We're going to go to war. And so, how many know that is only a strategy that God could give a leader of an army, right? That doesn't make any sense by any means, right? But it worked, and God delivered their enemies into their hands, and they got victory. I don't know what this is going to look like, for us going forward, but I am ready to pray and fast and seek God for what He has for me personally and for this church in the next season, in the next years to come, and however long. And number 3 talks about Nehemiah when he's going to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. And before he even got people together, he was just crying and mourning and weeping because the wall was not built yet, and everything was destroyed. And he begins to pray and fast. And then he goes to the people and he starts, rallying everyone together. He's like, we have to rebuild the wall, get everybody together all across the wall. And so he was activated to do that, I believe, through that time of prayer and fasting. And again, I don't know what that looks like for us, but I believe that that's this rallying call, this not battle cry, but this rallying that God is doing in this time for us. And so I want to encourage us and challenge us to seek God in these next couple weeks, because we start on March 7th. And it's for 40 days, and for maybe some of you that may feel really overwhelming, but I think just be prayerful about it. And it doesn't mean you have to pray every day, fast the whole day, every day, and obviously take your health into consideration and your schedule, but there's definitely, I think the preparation part is just as important as the actual fast. So being prayerful about it, asking God, is it a meal? Is it a certain kind of food? Is it time? Is it, hobbies or things that I am currently involved with? And just spend some time asking Him as we prepare for that, because our theme for this year, this time, is healing and revival. And healing and revival, that's something we all believe for, of course, but I think that's part of our contending. For the breakthrough. We want to see breakthrough in people being healed, our very own people who need that healing breakthrough. And also for revival. I think revival, it always starts in a person's heart, and flows out of it. And how many of you want to see your school change, your coworkers change, your city change, your nation change, the nations change? It takes more than just showing up to church on Sunday, So, oh man. Gosh, when I look at you guys, some of you I don't even know yet, but I just want to tell you that each of you are an answer to prayer. Prayers that, my team prayed before I even got here for missionaries from so long ago, you're not here by chance, is what I'm saying. And you're an answer to prayer, really. And I just dream or imagine what God is going to do. What He's already done has been incredible, really incredible. But where he's taking us. Gosh, I want the more of God. Like, do you guys want the more of God? Like, I want to see that. I want to see that. And I believe that we're going to be able to see that if we're just willing to say yes. We're just willing to say yes. So, fasting, prayer. Maybe I'll share more about that another time, but I don't know if I'm articulating what I need to articulate about that. But I think for now, just to encourage you to take time and prepare your hearts for it. Because we're going to fast, we're going to pray, we're going to contend for a breakthrough in our lives, contend for healing, contend for revival. And it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing for God to do what he needs to do here. So, I think I'll just leave it at that. I think one last thing I'll say. I think of Joseph and his story. He didn't do anything wrong. He was a good guy, a godly man, right? And he went through it. He was in the pit, right? Time and time again. But he continued to worship God. He continued to work for God. And he continued to wait on God until his breakthrough came. And so I believe that he believed that just because you have a setback in some way doesn't mean that you're not going to have a comeback, right? And I believe that, for Joseph, just because he was down doesn't mean that he wasn't going to get up, right? Because the Psalm says that weeping may endure for a night, but what comes in the morning? Joy comes in the morning, right? And I believe that for some of you who have been disappointed and find it hard to believe God for a breakthrough, you need to know that just because you've been disappointed doesn't mean that God will never appoint you or set you into that breakthrough mode. Like, he's so ready, he's so here. That was Joseph in Genesis 40. But he didn't get his breakthrough until Genesis 41. So whatever happened between those two chapters, I think that's where we're at right now. We're in between those pages, of the waiting and continuing to work for God and continuing to worship him. But then we are going into the chapter where we lay a hold of when God comes and delivers us and gives us breakthrough. So, yeah, you can clap. Oh, stop crying. Those are pivotal sections or pages right there between those chapters. That's where we're at now. So I'm not going to do it by myself. Pastor Casey and Hope aren't going to do it by themselves. It is a together thing. Everybody say together. Together, right? Hashtag better together. That's been like one that's been going on for a couple years, but there's so much truth in that, together. So I said a lot. I didn't say everything I wanted to say, but I'm going to leave it at that for now. God is who he says he is. He's the one that's enabling us to even contend for our breakthrough. So we need to come out of our caves, whatever that may be. Tissues. We need to continue to wait and work and worship God. We need to put our trust in him alone. We need to be assured of his deliverance that is here, that is coming. And we're going to keep singing that new song. And God's giving us new songs. He's giving us new songs. I'm not just saying the worship team. He's giving us new songs, as our testimony even now. So that when we come out of whatever it is that we're in, everyone's going to know, whoa, that was so God. God give you the glory and praise. Others are going to see and fear and put their trust in God. How amazing is that your breakthrough isn't just for you alone, but it's for others around you. the people that you're fighting and contending for in prayer, like when you get your breakthrough, I really believe that others, those very people are going to be benefiting from it, and they're going to see God and know Him and put their trust in Him. So why don't we all stand? Just take some time focusing on the Lord. I don't know what He may have said to you or what He's speaking to you now, but ask Him. Ask Him what He's saying to you. Last week, I had shared during worship about this very psalm of people being stuck in a pit, and just continuing to dig in and grabbing a hold of it and not knowing how to get out of it, because they were just looking down the whole time and focusing so much on the pit and wanting to get unstuck so badly. But the very act of just turning your eyes to the Lord and fixing your gaze on this cross here will change everything. That takes us out of our pit. That takes us out of whatever circumstance or emotional turmoil or mental distraught. I don't know what it is, but just know that God, He's just reaching in. He's inclining His ear to you. Whatever cry it is that you're crying out to Him about, know that He's so present. He's reaching out to you. What if contending for your breakthrough simply means that you actually need to begin to contend for it? To not be relaxed or just okay about it. But that picture that I showed you in the beginning of that fist going through the glass, that's the kind of breakthrough. That's the mentality. You know, it's war. It's a battle. When you go through that glass. And it's not that you need to say, like, God has the victory, you know, He's already won it for us. That's the assurance, that's the grace and the peace that we can have, and the confidence that we can have, knowing that God has already won it all. You know, we're standing from that place of victory that Jesus already won for us, the freedom that He's already paid for us. But we still need to contend. We still need to put our faith in Him and bust through that glass. So we're gonna sing Miracles. And it may sound repetitive to some, but I want us to put our faith in those very words as we declare to God, You're the God of miracles, the one who was and is to come, the one who brings the dead to life. You're the God of miracles, the one who makes the impossible possible. It's moving here in front of me. It's moving here in front of me. I want to make the deaf to hear. Silencing my everything. Silencing my everything. I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. The one who does the impossible is reaching out to make me whole. Reaching out to make me whole. The one who put everything in this place. This life is flowing through my veins. This life is flowing through my veins. I believe in you. I believe in you. You're the God of miracles. I believe